Hello everyone, this is Mohammed from Python Ninja YouTube channel, and in this tutorial we will learn together how can we read content of a text file in Python. It's important to mention that we will learn variety of file extensions or formats, but for today's tutorial only we will deal with text files. Later we will introduce CSV files, and we will also highlight CSV module to deal with CSV files, and later we will also introduce some other formats of files like JSON and image files, but we will go for the basis form, which is the text file in Python. So in this tutorial, we will learn together how can we read the content of a text file. And by the end of this tutorial, we will also highlight the exception handling, in which we can handle some error in reading the text file. So the first step is to create a text file. It's similar to the one we created yesterday. Here we have text file. We termed it as this, and we added just 2 lines of text. Okay, now we can read this text file by identifying a new variable. So I want to identify file as a variable, and I can use open statement, and inside the open statement we have to pass the path, and the path here is not inserted yet, and we will identify the path here to be the test.txt file. As what we introduced yesterday, we have the ability to type the name.txt, which is the extension of the file, directly, because this file is inserted within the main program or the main Python file that is used to execute the code. Otherwise, we will use the fr statement, and we will type, for example, if it's located in the F drive or the directory, or in where it is located. So in this case, test is located within the same program directory, and I can pass here the path. And if we want to read the content of this test.txt file, we will use, for example, print file, and this file will contain a method.read, and this read is a method and will read the content of the file. So we read the content of this text file, which is this tutorial, well, file not found, and we read this content and we printed it. The drawback of this open, which is the normal Pythonic way to read file, is that it's open a file and it's located it in the memory, and after the execution, the memory will still reserved for that file, and this file, okay, variable or the file itself will be opened and not closed, even if you finish the execution. So to test if the file that we read and the print here is still open, okay, in the Python backend, we can print file, okay, .closed. .closed will return Boolean variable and or Boolean value, to which means true or false, by which we can consider, or we can notice if the file is still open or the file is closed. And file.closed return false to me, which means that the file is still open even after opening that file and reading the content. We will lose some of the computational power we have, because the file is remain open. And in this case, we will use file.close method, okay, and by this case, okay, and this line, which is file.close, will close the open file, okay, in the backend, And if now we will repeat this line to check if the file now is still open or closed, it will be closed now. So at the first thing, we identify the path, then we use the usual open statement to load this file, and then we print the lines of that file, okay? And we check if the file is still open after reading and executing the line of code, and it shows that the file .close shows that false, and meaning that the file is still open. And now I recall file.close method to close the open file. And when we print file.close again, it shows to me true. So it's true that the file is closed. Now, this is the normal or the usual Python way to read text file. Considering that in this tutorial, we highlight text file and only read the content or content reading, okay? It's not about creating file using other argument, okay? Or deleting or copying files. So we will highlight creating files, okay, using Python way in the next tutorial. So in this tutorial, consider we have text file, okay, and we want to read the text file. There are many other type of files or file formats like CSV, which is one of the common used or most used files in analyzing tabular data. That will come later, and JSON file will come later. Also, images, other type of file formats, we will handle each, okay? But this is the vanilla file reading in Python for the text file, okay? Now we highlighted the open statement, which is the normal one. We will highlight also the modern way to read text file. Consider that we contain in this text file, okay, some text data. However, you can include another type format. You can conclude, for example, some variables like, for example, age, okay, equal 30. You can also include some other format like JSON, and you can read this JSON file, and later you can pre-process, okay, JSON format within text file. Okay, now this is the normal method to read the text file in Python. What is the abnormal one or the modern one? It is used within the context manager in Python. For the context manager, we will later give 2 tutorials just to teach you how you can employ context manager to design pattern or function or design your code in Python. But in this case, or in this system of our learning journey, we will highlight with, okay, so we will use with open. So this is the syntax, okay, of the context manager. We have with open, then we will have the path here, okay, then we will use as f, okay, and later we can use f.read, okay, or f.read, or whatever we want to use. This is the form or the syntax of the context manager that is used to open file. We use with. Whenever you see with, then you will notice this is a context manager, and then we can use open, okay, statement, okay, and we use as f or as file or as whatever you want. This is the naming based on you. So the first thing here, we want to identify the path, and this path for the text file, and to use the modern way to read the text file in Python with the context manager, we use with, okay, and then I use the open statement, normal open statement, and I pass my path here, okay, sorry, this is the path, okay, and I can like use as f or as file. You can use as what you want, okay. Then I print underneath, okay. Remember we have indent space here, or a space or indent, okay, and this is mandatory for the context manager, and we can print file dot read, okay, in this case, and I want to execute this line of code. Now we read the file, okay, using the context manager or the modern way to read a file. And if I repeat the check print file dot close, okay, and now file dot closed is true. It's true that file is closed because using the context manager by wrapping, okay, the open statement within with statement, okay. So in this case we use the context manager, and using the context manager will also entail closing the file. So after reading the file, we remove all computational resource, okay, we reserved for reading that file. So the modern way to read text file or to read JSON file or to read whatever you want, okay, you can wrap the open statement, which is open path. We wrap it within with the statement like this with open, it will become, and then we say as file, and now we read the file and we check if the file is closed or not. Okay, now it's closed because we use it within the context manager. But if I use it directly with open, as what we introduced in the at the beginning of this tutorial, the file dot close will become false, which means that the file will still open in this case. Okay, I want also to introduce two other alternatives of file.read. Okay, now we have file.read. The file.read, we can read the entire text file, and inside the parentheses, I can like send a number. For example, if I want to send number 5, meaning that please read to me the first 5 characters, and let us remove this. And the first 5 characters will be to me, which to me this this, and it consider also the the space. For that, if I want to read the first 10 characters, I will find it will be this, and then we have space, and then we have tutor, and so we can submit inside the read method how many characters that we want. Okay, but if I want to read only one line, okay, then I can use, instead of read, I can use read line, okay, and inside read line I will keep it empty now, and I will execute this. So read line, it will read to me one line by default, okay, and it is now related to the first line of the text file, okay, this one. So using read line will read line to me, and if I will pass the number inside the read line, it will also return the number of characters, okay, that should be retrieved. By the way, sending argument or numbers inside the read line or the read is not like mostly used. Other in the practice, sometimes we use the read line just to check the first line of the text, or we use read to read the entire text that we want. And if you want Python to make post-processing after reading the file and returning the text file as a list, okay, so each single line will be transferred to a list. Then instead of read line, you can use read lines, okay, and these read lines will read the text file and convert each, okay, each line now, okay, will become an item of a list. Okay, so we directly read this lines, and I put this these lines are inserted within a list, and each line will become a single item, okay, within the list. So this is the first line, this is the second line, and you can remove a slash and a slash, and meaning that we have space. Okay, if you have like shift space between text, then it will insert slash and if you change the encoding scheme, for example, you can use encoding UTF-8, then you can handle slash n, but it's not our concern now. Just we want to learn how can we read text file in Python. So we introduced file.read, file.reads, file.read line, and file.read lines. Okay, and we highlighted file.read, read the entire text, file.read line, read the first line, file.read lines, read the whole text, and convert each line as an item of a list. And as I said, this as file, it can be introduced to, for example, as FE. Okay, so then I have to change this to FE. It is based on the naming if you want to give it a name, but we use the Pythonic way or the Python convention. So either to use file in this case or either to use F. Okay, so this is F. Okay, now this is how can we read file, okay, within the context manager or with the statement. Okay, now in next tutorials, after introducing files and object-oriented, we will also highlight the exception handling in Python. Exception handling in Python, it shows to you or it will introduce to you methodologies and techniques in which we will use the exceptions to handle the errors, okay, like syntax error or file not found error or type error. That is useful if you have an error of your code and you want to continue execution the code, not to embed execution the code. Okay, and if you want to check or if you want to quickly just learn how can we use the context manager in the context of if you want to learn the exception handling in the context of file content reading, just look to this. If I have the file test.txt now and I don't have the exact file, for example, if I have like a file doesn't located in the same directory of my program, or the path is corrupted, it's not real path. Okay, if I execute this, okay, then I will have an error which is called file not found error. Okay, or if I have test1, for example, there is no test1 file here. It's not exist. Okay, then I will have file not found error because when we open this, it will go to this directory directly and it will check if it's open or not, then the file not found error. This is associated with just this tutorial when we use, okay, the OS module, okay, and when we import OS module in the context manager way, it used like this. For example, it can check, okay, and this is os.path, okay, .exist, okay, for the path, okay, and by this way, this error is taken from this. So when we will learn in the future how can we design the context manager, then this it will become the first line to check the path if it's valid or not. But now it's like grab inside the with statement. So now in this case, this one is not exist, and the system showed to me it is not found. It's not exist and file not found error. How can we handle this error? How can I design my own error? In this case, I use what is called exception handling, and in the exception handling we use two statements. the first one is a try, then I use colon, and all of the code should be tagged underneath, and we will have indent statement, indent distance here, and double indent distance here. Okay, again we will use a try statement just to handle the exception of the error here, and the under try we have to press tab from the keyboard to shift the line under try. Then the second statement is except, and or the except either to use exception like this. Okay, then you can print whatever you want. Let us to say test. Okay, 1. Okay, 5 not this. Okay, let us run this. Now I have a new error said to me, okay, or erased to me that test1 file is not exist, and we handle the error. Okay, now we will later learn, okay, how can we continue proceeding in the lines and continue execution even after we have this error. Okay, suppose we have other lines here, and in case if the file doesn't exist, I want to proceed also to execute the remainder line, but now keep it as it for the exception handling tutorials. Now we learn how can we use exception handling. Okay, and in this case we will have, okay, the ability to avoid exception or the file not found error. Sometimes I can copy this. Okay, instead of using the try except with except exception, we can use except and the same name error, and we can use a try, and then I can, okay, tab from the keyboard. From the keyboard, and now I can say except. Then I have to copy this one, okay, like this, okay, and then I print, okay, file for example not found. Okay, and in this case we can obtain the same result, okay, where to handle the non-exist file. That will be more clear to you, but not now, later. And by this exception handling, I will stop this tutorial and will introduce in the next tutorial how can we create files. So in this tutorial we like imply that the file is already exist and the text is inserted inside the file, but in the next tutorial we will imply that the file itself is not exist, but we want to create the file and add content to that file.